You know who made it.
Hello and welcome to the See Me Be Me podcast. On today's episode, we are joined by the founder and CEO of Wellbeing and Ergonomics and Tech Disinfect, Karim Samani. On today's episode, we are joined by Logan, who is the founder and CEO of Dyslexia Studios. Today, we are joined by Amer Gaffer, who is a director at the Manchester Fuel Cell Innovation Centre. Today, we are joined by Kamar Khan, who works with Clean Power Hydrogen Technologies. On today's episode, we are joined by Akua Opong, who is a senior associate at the London Stock Exchange Group.
And on today's episode, we are joined by Marcia Brissett-Bailey.
Today, we are joined by none other than Simone Roche, who's the founder and CEO of the Northern Power Women. What do you think were our three key skills that everybody needs if they're setting up, if they want to be an entrepreneur, they're going on that journey and want to, try and create a successful business? What are the three core skills that are required, in your opinion?
I think the first thing I would say, become a calculated risk taker.
Yeah.
That's very, very important because business is all about risk, right? Every business that you see that started, those people always taking a risk because sometimes that product or services doesn't exist in the market. Sometimes that product and service already exist in market. If it doesn't exist, you make it happen. If it already existed, then you can find a way to improve it, right? So that's where you calculate risk it, but that's very, very important. Second thing is very important, I would say, is your personal branding. Because I generated business to who Karim Samani is and how can I help people. My product and services come after me. Is this people, is the face that people buy, that they trust what I'm saying to them. Because I already studied my time or invested my time in studying something to educate those people. So your personal branding is very, very important for people to believe in you, to understand you, and to trust into you. So that's very, very important. So work on your personal brand because that's very important. For example, I've seen some pictures of Elon Musk. Actually, he doesn't go out with a Gucci T-shirt or a Dolce & Gabbana T-shirt. He goes in a plain T-shirt, right? Look at the Simon Cowell. So they are the brand themselves.
Yeah.
Right? You saw Simon Cowell on X Factor. He always wear a white color T-shirt. Doesn't say Simon Cowell on it, but people know who is he.
Yeah.
So your personal branding is very important. And the third one is very important. Do your research, because if you don't want to fail, do your research. Yeah. From the research, then you will learn how to take a calculated risk.
So I have the, I guess, called radical belief that if you're really passionate about something, you'll really enjoy it. And for including the MBA, shout out to Tori Orr at Akua Equities, Tori Orr, TORR. So she recently got her MBA, and she was kind of mentioning on her podcast how through Wharton, it's like you can't really, what she said, chasing your dreams won't make you enough money, basically. Yeah. And I try to argue that. I truly believe that if you have that dream, if you're willing to go through that call it gutter, the rut, the dirt for a second to get to that dream, I think that you can get there. So that's what this is really trying to prove. And so with that, like I said, the website design is a key product that we promote. But within that, we're trying to say, hey, look, young Blair, hey, do you want to race cars, right?
Yeah.
You don't understand all that goes into motorsport yet, but you want to race cars. Okay, well, how about a quick internship or essentially a side contract, a subcontractor role, basically within Blair Foundation, right? That way, they're able to say, I've actually seen the financials, I've seen the work that they do, I know exactly what I want to do here. I got this experience, and the biggest thing we say is, paying attention is free. It's always free. You can always pay attention. You can always raise your hand, say, hey, is there some grunt work for me to do? There's always a list that needs re-alphabeticalized. Like there's always something you can always raise your hand to do. And so that's our goal is to try to pick up some of that lower leg work for the founders so that way they can actually focus on what they need to do. and then also kind of ignite that fire in the younger person to say, hey, this is truly what I want to do, right? Versus the person that's like me that was like, okay, I'm gonna go to med school, and then gets to freshman year of college and takes that bio class and goes, yeah, this isn't for me.
We shouldn't just talk about hydrogen. We should be talking about net zero as our end game. That's what ultimately we want to do. We've talked about sustainability for 20 plus years. Last 3, 4, 5 years, we've started to focus in on net zero. We get announcements, you take the government announcement that they're not saying we're canning net zero. All they've said is we're going back to a date that was already agreed by the previous prime minister, and the way kind of is politics. You can't expect businesses to stop their journey on net zero because it's a long road to deliver net zero. It's an expensive road, but it's also a road which is filled with the biggest amount of opportunity, the largest opportunity that this country has probably seen since the Industrial Revolution, because it is that big. Because you talk about transport, energy, those are two of the biggest markets in the world. That's what net zero has got to affect. You've got to talk about buildings. You've got to talk about skills. We talk about 95%+ of all renewable energy projects that are in planning, and I'm specifically talking, say, some around hydrogen. What happens when they come out of planning? Who's going to deliver them? So you need to think, we've got an R&D facility, we've got a policy framework that is suitable for our region. Then we've got to really hone down on the skills agenda. And it's not just about the university sector, it's about bringing that supply chain together. That's an ambition which is probably bigger than a net zero ambition, because with 2023, we've still got a problem with retrofit skills. We've still got a problem with digital skills. We have not solved any skills challenge. There is a looming one around net zero, but there's a looming one. There's always a looming one. What we need to do is bring together that supply chain, and that's ask the businesses what type of skills they want to recruit. And they might not know. That's okay. So then you work with them to then bring together the education sector, which includes specialists, training providers. The type of training that you guys do is phenomenal. And it should be provided to everyone to understand where they can go to get support. If you're interested in a university undergraduate career, and even for me, it was challenging. My eldest son's just gone to university, and he didn't want to do anything to do with hydrogen. I think I put him off. But he wanted to do something around economics. But that's all right, because sustainable finance is going to be huge. And when you start breaking up the skills that are required to deliver net zero, we should be talking about every single job is a green job. There's no getting away from it, because whether it's STEM-based skills, because STEM-based subjects are quite well covered. What we think we probably need to do is probably just enhance them to look at them with a lens that is around sustainability and net zero. So if I pick on a course, and I tend to pick on this course quite a lot, electrical engineering, it hasn't changed in shape or form for many years, whichever institution you look at it as. It almost needs to be now electrical engineering with a net zero lens, because electricity, no matter how you produce it, it's just full of electrons. It's understanding which technology vectors are going to make a real play towards net zero. Because unless someone invents something that is astronomically brilliant, we kind of know 80-90% of the technologies that are going to get us to net zero. If there's investment there, we can deliver net zero very quickly, because it always boils down to investment. But that's investment in people as well.
What would you say? Let's say to a young person listening to this, what might be the biggest challenges in, let's say, doing your role?
I think the biggest challenge is understanding yourself and self-belief, because I think if we look at it from every angle, I think what I'm realizing, students, graduates that are coming out now, fresh from university, I think the expectations are there, but realism isn't there. Realism meaning they don't get told real life skills at university, right? This is how you're going to talk to people. This is how you're going to present to people. This is how you have to talk to them. Because like the way, as an engineer, you want to talk technical all the time, but you can't, because the guys you're selling to aren't always technical. The CEOs, the founders, they're business development people, and they're not going to want a technical sale. They're going to want an actual solution. So what my thing is, what I would tell people is learning soft skills is so powerful, more powerful than a technical skill, because you presenting your technicalities to someone is more powerful than you knowing how it works. And so for me, telling the future generations, know yourself, know your soft skills, and be honest with yourself. Can you actually communicate and present to people in a way that they're going to understand? If you can't, then take a step back and refresh. And there's nothing wrong with self-development. You know, it's a fantastic. Like in my last job, I didn't realize this, but as a sales guy, in my last job, I give credit to my last employees and my last boss. Empathy was something picked up on as something for my job role, which is crazy, right? Empathy, you wouldn't think, but putting yourself in someone else's shoes and thinking on their behalf is empathetic. But then you understand where that customer's coming from. But they don't tell you that. So for me, the challenge isn't technicalities. For me, it's all about the soft skills that take you to the next level of your career development.
And Akua, when you're getting this setting out on your journey, who were some of like your key role models growing up?
Yeah, I would say it varied. I would say because it was like in the moment, and one was definitely like Michelle Obama. And I know some people go, it's a cliche, everyone says Michelle Obama, but it's the truth. I love the way she talked about how it's so important for young girls to have an education. And she always really drilled that home. And even I've got her book Becoming, and I actually went to her book tour when she did it in London, and the atmosphere in the room, there was so much energy and such a great vibe because everyone knew that who they was coming to listen to. And for me, it was such a special moment because I was sitting there with one of my college friends that I've known for years, and it was just so special because I was just in awe, and just like every response she gave and things like that, it was just, it was special because you can never say in your lifetime that you've gone to like a book tour of that magnitude, I think, and it meant a lot to me. And there's others throughout my career, such as there's a few that I've met through work that have been definitely supporters of what I do, and I value that because for me, when I was growing up, I was such a timid child and I was quite shy. I didn't have as much confidence. Like I'd get involved in things, but at times I just didn't feel overly confident. So it took a lot, and sometimes I've had to dig deep. Like even if someone says to me, "You're doing a great job," etc., I'm always like, I could do better, I could do more. And that's my driver, to always do better, do more.
People say, you don't look dyslexic. How do you cope? Is it about reading and writing? People are curious, but we're curious because the system hasn't made us aware. And we're curious because we can't understand why you can show up and be yourself. Isn't dyslexia a disablement of some? So you're not meant to do, you're not meant to do, it's a learning difference. It's the way my brain's wired, but we're all designed in a different way to bring skills to the table. So mine may be attention to detail or seeing a bigger picture. So we all have something to offer. We all have something to bring. So that's where my advocacy is to change that kind of narrative, to tell people that this is me, and this is by design. This is not a disability in the way that you're dissing it to say that it means your lack of something. It's very much a medical model. We need a medical model, but it's very much of that you lack something. I don't lack anything. What happens is the system's not designed for the way that I work. So if I want to write an essay, why do I have to be tested by my memory? Because my short-term memory is really bad. My dyslexia, I'll be like, what did we talk about a minute ago? And it's like, it's not intentionally, but it's really short. But I can remember something when I was 3. So you've got to work with my strengths. So we've got to have a strength-based approach. Soft skills are important too. And we've got to look at the future. As a careers advisor, I'm always looking at skills are always evolving. So we have to change our mindset. And so for me, I'm just always wanting to bring it home that dyslexia is not a disability that it disables you from doing it, but we have to change the system so you can have a strength base and work on my strength. So an exam, why can't I talk my exam? Why not? Because I'm better. My talking is a stronger strength. But if you're testing me to write, it's going to take me longer. I can do it, but it's going to take me time. I've got to overlearn it and overlearn it. So it's having awareness and understanding, I think, Blair, that people just sometimes don't get, because we're taught that you've got all of these differences or difficulties, as they say. And like, well, how can you show up because you need help? I need assistance. Yeah, I put my hand up, but it don't mean I can't be able to do something and show up and be myself. But it can be crippling when people are disabling you to not be your best. And there's so many things around mental health and trauma because of it, because people are always viewing you that you can't, there's a lack of something, and there isn't a lack of something. This is the way my brain's designed, and I can bring a lot to the table. I'm provoking in my thought thinking, and that's great for business. It's great when you're an ideas person. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's the kind of conversations I want to have at the table, not what you can't do, it's what you can do.
How has your personal journey and experiences, how has that influenced your commitment to driving and promoting diversity and equality?
I think it's one and the same now. I think my world, my sort of work, I feel like it's a life or work work balance. I don't think there's any it's a personal pleasure. It's not a 9-to-5 job for me. It's something that when I jumped into it, I thought I'm going to set this up and this will be amazing. We can do this from the north and might be able to do things in another part of the country. And then, to be honest, I jumped all in. I'm one of those people. If I'm in, I'm all in, and I jump fully in to what sort of at times becomes sort of 70-hour week jobs. So for me, it has, I think if I look at the way, if I look at practically around my socials, I know sort of Facebook is kind of old school now, but I was always kind of a voyeur on Facebook. I was there just to, keep an eye on family or stuff. That has definitely become a blurred world with sort of not quite akin to LinkedIn, but I think that kind of mix in there, I think, and this is individuals that whether they work for corporates or whether they're entrepreneurs or whatever, I think there's a real sort of blurring, because I think we've created a really strong, positive community. And I think naturally people will sort of jump in or align or support or get involved with what we do. And so I think the aligning of my values with the values of Northern Power Women and the if you like, our umbrella We Are Power community has been it's just been quite natural, really. I think I built this huge community which is circa 100,000 now, of all these amazing role models out there. We've created this sub-community, which is our Power Collective, which sits under this We Are Power banner. And the whole reason I did that is because constantly people would go, oh, what can I do? How can I get involved? What can I do? How can I get involved? And there's only so many mentoring programs we could have, or there's only so many events we could have. So we have like we built a digital platform which has got over 10,000 people on it, the Power Platform. But the whole idea of that is to enable a space that people can give back and pay it forward. So whether or not it's every month we do an hour virtual speed mentoring every month, again, for those early careers or students. So that just is one example, I suppose, is how it's kind of aligned. It's the passion. Everything's sort of driven by a passion. But if we only ever want to do things that make a difference, that comes from me personally. So I think sometimes we try and do too much. Probably my team will definitely tell me that. I won't look out the corner of my eye because I know, but there's definitely something we definitely don't try and do too much. We try and do too much saving of the world. But I always feel like that responsibility, that if we have a platform and a stage and there's something that we can do for good, then why wouldn't we?